Just before starting our journey into the color red, I would like to address my deepest gratitude both to Sharon Cranston and Alison Buchsbaum here and there at Patina Gallery, not only for opening the doors of the gallery, but also for offering me this extraordinary opportunity to talk about a new game of red tarots. Thanks to all who made this adventure possible and all of you who are here today. My gratitudes go also to Diego De Francesco for his constant help and commitment while creating his video. My favorite muse, Diana Freeland, is watching over us, introducing the subject matter with her wise words. Red is a great clarifier, bright, cleansing, and revealing. It makes all the other colors beautiful. I can't imagine becoming bored with red. It would be like becoming bored with the person you love. Yes, one can never be bored with red. For this reason, I would like to start our journey into red with a breathtaking art installation created by the Japanese artist Chiharu Shiota in 2015 for the Japanese Pavilion at the Venice Biennale. The sense of wonder and awe was given not only by the boats displayed in the space of the pavilion, but above all by the intricate geometry of red yarn strings filled and decorated with thousands of keys that Shiota collected from people around the globe. The Key in the Hand, this is the title of the art installation, wants to highlight the importance of an ordinary object, such as the key, to which we entrust our lives. As Hitoshi Nakano, curator of the Japan Pavilion, pointed out, in our daily lives, keys protect valuable things like houses, belongings, and personal safety, and we use them while embracing them in the warmth of our hands. In this work, Shiota incorporated keys as a medium that conveys our true feelings. The boats symbolize two hands catching a rain of memories pouring down from the ceiling. While struggling and working with the hands, the two boats will move forward through a huge sea of memory as they collect individual memories. By exploring the notion and the value of memory through objects, the intricate geometry of red yarns visualize the cosmos of relationships. Close to one another, cross or not, the strings are the equivalent of the ramification of human veins. How many kinds of relationships can be numbered? There are the so-called blood ones, born within the family. Some others, born outside the family, become as important as the previous ones. There are friendly relationships, and others fed with any emotions, even the most obscure. So the emotions and blood and the color red. Focusing on red leads us to enter into the history of colors that has to do not only with biological and neurological aspects, such as why and how they are perceived, but above all because it calls up some other cultural aspects that have a lot to do with history and social history, with anthropology, religion, economy, art, fashion, beauty, and science. Just as an example, the symbolic code of black, white, and red colors is a perpetual presence over millennia, and evidence of that is still in our everyday life and even in the fairy tales. And finally, why the color red? Because it is strictly related to humankind. The red color was used in its rough form of mineral to draw. Evidence of the use of mineral red is testified by the cave graffiti depicting animal forms or live scenes of a hunt. Because red is the color of blood and fire, both perceived as living elements, they are symbols of life. Animal forms and deities decorated the so-called Attic red pottery, where delicate and elegant decoration of initial orange clay became red after firing. Red was also related to power, war, and love. In Greek and Roman times, red was the color attributed to the war god Mars, and Venus, her lover and goddess of love. Vermilion red was the color attributed to emperors and kings. It has a lot to do with an image of power because of its visual impact. The more brilliant red was, the more it meant wealth. In ancient Rome, for example, colors were distinguished not only by their saturation, but by their brilliance or opaqueness. Brilliant red, the one derived from a special and expensive shell named purpura, purple red, was the most expensive red, and only wealthy people could afford it. Only emperors could totally wear in purple red. Women who put red on their lips and even on the cheeks adorned themselves with red ornaments such as rubies, garnets, carnelian, and glass paste fused with cinnabar. Ruby was the amulet for properties and virtues. Pompeian red, for example, was a specific red shade derived from hematite and allowed painters to draw the first drawing called synopia. Antiquity was brilliantly colored and very far from the idea propelled by the neoclassical theorists. Together with vermilion, these pigments provided that stunning saturation of red that still nowadays we can see at the Villa of Mysteries near Pompeii. The saturated brilliance of reds fascinated the Lithuanian-American painter Mark Rothko, who visited the Villa of Mysteries during his European tour in 1959. The veils of pigment and the pictorial technique were deeply studied, and to recreate his large color-filled paintings, especially the one conceived for the Seagram building. Red was also related to wealth, power, and religion, both in the Western and Eastern worlds. Before the arrival of the cochineal from the New World in the 16th century, red was the most expensive color for clothes and for lacquerware in China. And as regards the importance of red in China, it must be said that the Chinese did not have just one red, but several, each with different connotations. Red was a consistent presence in imperial life, adorning the gates, doors, and windows and walls of palaces, appearing on clothes, banners, and royal goods, and dominating wedding and funeral processions. In official context, it was not only represented but embodied imperial authority. If red is the color of the Roman Catholic Church, traditionally worn during the services in Easter time for recalling the Passion, it was banned during the Reformation time because it marked the Papists and was strongly fought since it was considered scandalous and frivolous, and even lascivious. In Eastern countries, such as Japan, red is the color of temple gates, and at the beginning Shinto priests were dressed in red. Both in China and Japan, it is a sign of luck, love, and a color that scares away bad spirits. As in the Western world, it is associated with ceremonies. As regards Japan, we cannot forget how Japonism influenced the 19th century arts, especially paintings, and how, subsequently, the red pigment was equally employed by figurative and non-figurative artists. Nowadays, red has multiple connotations. As jewels and clothes, it conveys messages. Sometimes worn as a statement, it becomes a signature, as Diana Freeland taught to all of us. But also with Mr. Valentino Garavani and his famous Rosso Valentino. Wearing red states how vivid is your inner fire. It is so easy, like wearing a red shade on your lips or a pin. Why tarots so? Tarot cards that at the very beginning were called trionfi appeared as playing cards by the mid-15th century in courtly life. The deck, formed by 52 cards and divided between major and minor arcana, was then used in cartomancy and divination. In a tarot deck, all the cards can be read in two different ways, depending on the side one picks up the card. For example, the card of the magician, also known in Italian as bagatto, can be read as power if it is upright, but it can be read also as untapped talents if reversed. So, since all colors have a double meaning and their fascination dwells in their ambivalence, also colors can be read as tarot cards. When it is about red, it's like a tarot draw. Each card can be read and interpreted in different ways, and it depends on the side you pick up your card. Red is an abiding marker of transgression. For its vivid and bold nature, red not only conveys a symbolic charge of power and life, but it is equally ambiguously strong, states James Fox in his book, The World According to Color. Connected with blood, red refers to emotions. Love, lust, and anger are red. Red was the color associated with 5 of the 7 deadly sins: gluttony, lust, pride, and anger. And according to the theory of the 4 humors, the fluids that conditioned man's health, the sanguine temper was connected to anger. As you can see in Dürer's painting The 4 Apostles, where St. John, wearing a red cloak, embodies the sanguine temper. Red recalls the circle of life, death, and rebirth, especially with the menstrual blood, as you can see in the site-specific installation created by the Chilean artist Ana Vicuña at Documenta. Especially in the silhouettes of the Cuban artist Ana Mendieta, red is employed as a primal element color, able to connect the body to the universe, as the artist stated. I have been carrying out a dialogue between the landscape and the female body based on my silhouette. I believe this has been a direct result of my having been torn from my homeland, Cuba, during my adolescence. I am overwhelmed by the feeling of having been cast from the womb, so the nature. My art is the way I re-establish the bonds that unite me in the universe. It is a return to the maternal source. The connection with blood refers to red as the color of the funeral rites in ancient Egypt, Greek and Roman times, as well in the ancient China, as the poetic image of the tomb of the diver witnesses, as a jump into another world, depicted with the delicacy of white, red, and black colors. Single or coupled shoes, as mounted gems on a wall, are the ones of the Colombian artist Doris Salcedo. Related to loss, mourning, and memories, the shoes are covered with a skin-like parchment and sewn to the wall with surgical thread. Atrabiliarios is the one of Salcedo's earliest and most powerful depictions of violence, suffering, and loss. The title references is the Latin expression atra bilis, black bile, which describes the melancholy associated with mourning. Worn shoes are inserted into a cavity in the gallery wall that is then covered with a stretched cow bladder. The skin-like membrane is coarsely sewn to the wall with surgical thread, creating a milky layer between the viewer and the discarded footwear. Salcedo collected the shoes from the families of desaparecidos, people, mainly women, who have mysteriously disappeared from their homes, a method of social control commonly practiced in Colombia during the internal conflict between paramilitary and guerrilla forces during the 80s. Since it is connected both with living elements and with funeral rites, tinted in red are the flames of hell. By its bold and fiery nature, red and black too always embodied obscure and evil forces. Created in 1973 by the American artist Ed Ruscha, this work, entitled Evil, is made from the artist's blood on red crimson silk. Focusing on his Roman Catholic upbringing, the artist stated, "There is a connection with my work and my experience with the religious icons, the Stations of the Cross, and the church. I liked the ritual. I liked the priest vestments. It was a deep, mysterious thing that affected me." Red and black are the colors of hells. In the perpetual night of the hell, the flames burn. But tinted in red are the one of the salvation, the purifying flames of the purgatory, and the ones of the Holy Spirit. Red is love and war. As regards blood, the one of the crucified Christ was redemptive and salvific. The menstrual red of women was not, since it was the continuation of the punishment of Eve. Red was the color of the Virgin Mary's cloak and the vest, and also the color of Mary Magdalene, the sinful woman. Red is the color of hereticism. Red, it's good and evil, shyness and lust. It's the color of the Virgin Mary and of Mary Magdalene, holiness and transgression. If red symbolizes imperial privilege, it is also the symbol of martyrdom, as well as the last stage of the alchemical opus. So it is rubedo, redness, the achievement. Red is power, temporal and religious ones. The power of red lies also in this large-scale canvas painted entirely in red, which is the one created by the American abstract expressionist painter Barnett Human in 1991. Vir Heroicus Sublimis roughly translated from Latin man, sublime and heroic, now at MoMA, had many interpretations over the years. For most critics, this work tries to capture both the tangible and the intangible, the spirit and the matter of the human condition. The large size of the painting, it is so large that when you stand close to it, as Newman intended, it engulfs you in a vast red field, broken by 5 thin vertical lines the artist called zips. He likened the experience to an encounter between people. One has a reaction to the person physically, he said. Also, there is a metaphysical thing, and if a meeting of people is meaningful, it affects both their lives. Red is also non-binary. In all its shades, it displays its power, always virtually strong, even in its lighter shades as pale or deep pink. It's frivolous, scandalous, lascivious. It is also a sign of wealth, an amulet, and a talisman. It keeps the bad spirits away, both in Western and Eastern countries. It's frivolous, but with that hint of subtle fascination. Red means good fortune and pride. Its duality marks both shyness and lust. Red can be glossy and brilliant, or veiled in a glorious opaqueness, or it can be mixed in a triad of textured red together with black and white. So, as my beloved muse Diana Vreeland wisely said, lighting is everything in a color. It's affected by the way the sun shines in certain countries. Wherever you are, whenever you are, well read, look for your inner light and shine. Thank you.